Hello, this is Free Thinking. Or is it? How do you know that it's not Gardener's question time, cleverly disguised? We take a lot on trust, don't we? And there are people out there who like to take advantage of that by fooling us, pranking us, protesting against us sometimes. Like that chap who handed Theresa May her P45 at her own party conference. Or the one who handed Sepp Blatter what looked like used oncers. He's the same chap, you know, the comedian Simon Brodkin, who'll be joining us in a moment. And then there are the victims, like the actor Kerry Shale, whose contribution tonight might be subtitled My Plastic Dog Turd Hell. And Simon and Kerry are just coming into the studio now. Yeah, come in. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, sit down, Kerry.
Where do you want?
Sit down, Kerry. Yeah, you sit down.
Here.
Yeah, sit down. Yeah.
Just a second.
And Simon, please sit down.
Do we wear hands?
Yes, you do. Yes, yeah. Kerry, can you tease out any differences between these two things? A prank, a joke, a stunt, a practical joke?
Well, yeah, because I think, having had a father who was a notorious prankster, at least at home.
That's not me, by the way.
It did take some... Well, basically, it took the humor out of the room for the rest of us, for like the rest of the family. Because my brother, my sister, my mother, none of us really got his humor, the fake dog turds on the carpet. And... so we felt kind of humorless, which is weird because, I mean, I do a lot of comedy acting and I've got a sense of humor, but it seemed like I didn't.
Editing people's Wikipedia entries and adding untruths to them, what's that?
I don't know, but I've done it.
Oh,
hello?
I did do it once.
Yes, well, guilty is what
I
this
know,
is.
I am guilty. I just couldn't. It was a friend of mine suggested. I'm from Winnipeg, which is like in the middle of nowhere in Canada. And my friend and I, who went to high school together and did actually pull a lot of pranks now that I think of it, we decided, we'd always called it Happy Town because it's kind of it's in the middle of the prairies and it's 40 below and it's a really tough working class town. So we put that the nickname of Winnipeg was Happy Town on the Wikipedia entry. And it was there for about 6 months. And it gave me a lot of pleasure.
Excellent.
See?
Okay. Here's another one.
You do.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Like
It's true.
And we're discussing the cultivation of hoaxes, stunts, pranks, and practical jokes. And it's time to hear properly from the actor Kerry Shale. So, Kerry, can you describe what I'm putting in front of you here?
Biscuits.
A plate of biscuits, yeah?
Plate of biscuits. There's a bourbon cream. There's some chocolate I see.
This is like Russian roulette,
Okay.
Kerry. Some of these biscuits are real and some of them are plastic. Dare you try? You can't, I think you need to pick one without feeling them because I think the texture might give them away, but...
Okay. What? So just, okay, I'll pick one. Yes.
Yeah, pick it up. Now you're committed to it.
Yes.
Give it a bite. He chose the bourbon. It's made of rubber.
It is
listener.
made of rubber.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
How'd you feel? Is that what first prank? Is it with it?
Excuse me.
you don't actually eat it.
No, you didn't tell me that.
Now, Kerry, this really
Brought back
for
some terrible
you
memories.
is going to be.
Yeah.
This is really going to be a discussion about your dad, isn't it? Tell us about your dad.
Well, my dad sold toys, wholesaled toys and what they called small wares. And small wares were mostly things that he'd sort of invented and had made up in Hong Kong. So fake puke, fake dog turds, fake breasts. And his pièce de résistance was the erect penis mug. And
How does one use one of those?
well, I remember, and I keep in mind, I saw all these things when I was like growing up. So like 4 years old, 5, 6 years old, I'd go to his office, his sort of showroom, and I remember when I saw the erect penis mug, it's literally a mug with an erect penis in it. And he, for some reason, it had your best friend.
Yes, not one lump or two.
Yeah, and so I've never seen it in action, actually. I've never actually seen somebody put tea into it and then give it to somebody and say, here, have a nice mug of tea, and then drink it and get the erect penis in their face. I've not seen that, but I imagine it's loads of laughs.
So
somebody should have done it to, Donald Trump.
Did he test these things out on you?
Well, he did.
Your
Yes,
family?
you'd come, you'd be at home and you'd be eating dinner, and then you'd hear that, the back door open. You'd hear, oh, sorry, I had something really bad for lunch.
That was him drinking from the mug.
And that was him with the and fake puke was not. It was like a big new thing. This was like we often had the things like the first fake puke, in Winnipeg. Anyway, so it but it didn't.
It's a blue plaque somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't. None of us sort of kind of got, because the problem was he enjoyed the jokes too much. He was doing them. He thought it was hilarious, so he would laugh. If you'd laughed when you did any of this, Simon, that would sort of be completely negating everything.
Yes.
So that's he was one of those jokesters who laughed at his own jokes.
Maybe you felt mocked because of that. Instead of enjoying the joke with him, the joke was on you.
Exactly. I did. But he'd co-opted me one time into being a prankster when I was about 10. And I've always loved voices and I've always loved accents. And I used to experiment with them. I used to imitate, things on the radio and just make up stuff. So I was talking to my mom one time. I was talking like this, and I was like 10 years old. Why don't I understand? What I don't understand is why the people, why the kids, why are the kids? And my dad said, you sound just like Uncle Adolf. We had this uncle in New York. I'd never met him. I'd never heard of him before then. And Uncle Adolf would show up in somebody's town or city and call them up, a relative, and say, it's Uncle Adolf, I'm at the airport, I'm coming to stay with you for a month. And so he said, call up Sandra, his sister, he was very close to, who lived around the corner, and say you're Uncle Adolf. Now I'm 10, I don't know Uncle Adolf, but I do love doing funny voices. So I called him and said, Sandra, it's Adolf, I'm at the airport. I just come in, and I'd like to see you and Arnold. We've lost touch over the years. I thought I'd stay for a month or two, I get to know the kids. And then she calls my dad up in tears and says, Uncle Adolf's at the airport, and I don't know what I'm going to do. So that I was co-opted into that, but I enjoyed doing the voices.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy doing the pranking.
Well, what an interesting moment for you, that, because it's both a kind of you've been implicated, yes. You're complicit in an act of cruelty towards a relation, and yet it's also shows that you've got it.
But yes, and so
as an actor,
yeah. My parents discouraged me from becoming an actor, but I eventually did become an actor, and I had to move all the way to the UK to kind of be my own person. But eventually I ended up doing, not pranking, but the first about 10 years that I lived here, when nobody knew who had ever heard of me, and I was just a young actor sort of trying to get work, I would often go in for English jobs, and the first time I went up for one, I went up for Ronnie Corbett's godson in this series Sorry.
We remember it well.
Well, it was pretty big in the 80s, and I had no idea, barely knew who Ronnie Corbett was. But I put on my English accent, and it was sort of like, London, North London, lower middle class, and I did it, and I got the part. And my problem was that it was a 2-week rehearsal period, including doing it in front of a live audience when you were finally finished. And I decided, I don't know why now, to not come out of character. So I had to make up. I mean, you probably have had to do this when you've been backstage and things like that, Simon. But it went on for 2 weeks. And so they'd say, where'd you go to school? And I'd say, I made something up. And I said, I went to RADA, which I never did. And I just made up an entire backstory. And so I got through with it, and I did it. And there's actually a clip on YouTube if you want to look it up. And but the next year, I was at a tube station, and the woman who played Ronnie Corbett's mother, who had many Barbara Lott, who was lovely, and I had many, conversations, just sitting there, and we'd be chatting, and I'd just be lying. Every word that came out of my mouth was a lie, and I was only doing it to try to get a job on the BBC. And she saw me across the crowded tube thing. She was going north, I was going south, and she said, "Cooey, Kerry, hello, Kerry," and I had to blank her because I couldn't get into character. I was just, myself, and I couldn't even remember sort of the character. I mean, another thing that I was 29 when I did that job, and I was playing a 15-year-old. So everything about it was completely insane. And it's not pranking, but it is not being truthful.
I'm interested in this element of cruelty that sometimes attends these acts.
And I think, when I heard about Kerry's dad doing these jokes on his kids, I think that's completely cruel. But again, I get back to Simon, and I think his are funny. It has to do with the direction. It has to do with the dynamic.
Doesn't it also
between
have to do with the audience in a way? Because we, as my dad's kids, we were not encouraging him. He would do this thing constantly. You know, he did it for years.
Right.
And he knew we weren't going to laugh.
Yes.
So it was quite cruel because he was getting his rocks off.
That sounds a little...
Selfridges, the department store in London, has just opened a pop-up joke shop.
I think I can't. I'm not sure I can comment any more about my dad. I did.
You pushed against your dad, and I've just thought, my dad, solicitor. I'm breaking the law quite a lot with some of the stuff I did.
So this is your rebellion? This is an act of rebellion against him?
Yeah, and I remember I did push against my dad finally
all for
once.
legal advice, which it was actually a cunning move by me.
My dad never thought I had a sense of humor, and because he would do these terrible jokes. But and I did lose my sense of humor around my dad. We had a huge Oedipal crisis, or conflict, constant crisis and conflict. But one time my parents were passing through London, and they were on their way to drive through France. And I had just split up with my girlfriend, so I was kind of depressed and wanted to get out of town. I said, "Can I join you?" And so I went to France with my parents. This is when I was like 30-something, early 30s. And of course, my father started to drive me insane immediately by telling awful jokes and saying awful things. So I became French, sort of spontaneously. I became this very posh, pompous, condescending
You've got
French
a stripy
person.
T-shirt on today.
Yes, I do. And I said, you stupid idiot, you are stupid fool. You know nothing about society, you know nothing about culture. And I just, all the stuff I've been wanting to say growing up as a kid, I gave it to him with a French accent.
Well, you were doing character comedy.
I was doing character comedy. And, after a couple of days, he was totally amazed, and he said, "I had no idea you could be funny.
Idea you were French.
No idea. Yeah, no idea you were French. No, but he said, I had no idea you were funny. I had no idea."
Well, he didn't sound like he didn't give you much of a chance, did it? And he was forcing his jokes.
So I did get my not just revenge, but I think he sort of took me seriously, weirdly, as a person who could do funny stuff.
It's interesting how these things, expose something about interpersonal dynamics, really. But I'm curious, Donnell, about what this kind of joke reveals about history. When I look in the window of a joke shop, what's the status of the hoax in a world where 1 in 5 Americans, according to some stat, think that the Holocaust was a myth, where 25% of Europeans, according to one survey, I don't know how reliable this is, say that the moon landings were fake.
Can I step in? And I think we have a is it nomenclature problem?
Nomenclature, yes.
So because you at the beginning you said what you call these things, hoax and prank and joke, but what they're all designed to do is make people laugh, whereas those are very different types of hoaxes. Those are designed to trick people, not with the end result of making them giggle, but quite the opposite, I would say.
We do have, though, we've got you pranked a former president who may be president again, who tells the world that the result of the 2020 election was a scam, a hoax of some sort. Perhaps we have a kind of a trickster and a world leader can be the same kind of person.
I guess it's because it's 2024 and all those lines are blurring. Did you see the Emily Maitlis thing where she she questioned Marjorie Taylor Greene about the Jewish space lasers, which Marjorie Taylor Greene was on record as saying there are these Jewish space lasers.
Congresswoman and conspiracy theorist.
Yes, exactly. And the conspiracy theory, like the Kubrick thing, the moon landing, that's actually falls under conspiracy theory. The fact that the Holocaust may have been fake falls under conspiracy theory. So that's kind of a very modern, I think, 21st century take on it.
We've only got a few moments left.
Simon Brodkin is not really doing a tour. That was a joke. No, he is. No, he isn't. Yes, he is.
Are you at peace with the fake
continuity?
Are you at peace with the fake dog turd now?
Yes, I
Kerry,
am.
or do they trigger you still?
You know what? I had I asked my dad for an erect penis mug when I hit age 40. I said, "Do you still make those things?" And he said, "I think I got one knocking around."
Brilliant.
So I came around eventually.
Okay, thank you all. Now it's time for the part of the programme that I'm going to call the end.